Retailers are hoping that a new taxation on low-value goods bought online and imported via air or post will kick in earlier. This in order to level the playing field with their overseas counterparts as soon as possible. Goods and Services Tax, or GST, will apply to such items worth $400 or less from 2023. Chua Tian Tian reports.
This is how this mother of two makes a living, selling items like hot pots and electronic goods on social media. 10 to 15% of her stocks are flown in from overseas, each time in quantities of less than 400 Sing dollars. Such goods are currently not subject to GST, but this will change in 2 years' time. When that happens, Joanne says she will turn to delivery by sea to cut costs.
Although it's like maybe you take maybe 1 or 2 weeks longer, but you can buy in bulk. So the whole process is actually just one-time shot. You can just bring all the items in at one time instead of, because if let's say GST is going to be implemented by air and by sea, then we will rather choose by sea to come for our products to be brought in.
For e-commerce platform Qtent, it will have to make some changes to its operations too. These include beefing up its digital infrastructure and workflow processes.
This new GST tax regime will impose some changes or processes that are required of us. That means for us, we will need to be able to identify the merchant, whether they are overseas or domestic, and also whether the goods are shipped from overseas or not. This identification will be one of the key criteria before we can actually or need to impose the 7% on our online shoppers.
But Mr. Tu welcomes the new taxation. He says the price disparity between local retailers and those overseas can range between 20 and 50%. So the new taxation will narrow that gap. The Singapore Retailers Association is hoping that it can be brought forward, though.
With the uptake of online retail, locals are also a lot more, acclimatized, accustomed to, buying online retail. So having, the implementation of GST for overseas purchases, maybe perhaps even like next month or in the next few months, would actually give our local businesses that competitive edge, and also to compete on fairer grounds.
She adds that bringing the timeline forward will also help local firms capture a higher demand for their goods at the moment. That's because supply chain disruptions have affected overseas deliveries.